Oh, Hilton stay, your beds are soft and cozy. No lumpy couch, no stiff futon, no shower line at crack of dawn. Oh, Hilton stay, oh, Hilton stay.
When you want holiday comfort you can count on, it matters where you stay. Enjoy comfortable rooms and friendly service when you stay with Hilton instead. Save up to 25% this season when you book with Hilton. Hilton for the stay. Terms apply.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
There is no hood like parenthood. Hi, I'm Kanika Gupta. I'm a former CNN journalist, mom of 3, including twins, and host of That's Total Mom Sense, the podcast. Now, if I had $1 every time I heard, gee, you have your hands full. On my show, I interview change makers on their life lessons, legacy, and superpower of intuition, which I call our Mom Sense and Dad Sense. I've had the privilege of working with Mom 2.0, March of Dimes, and the White House, and have had some pretty amazing parents on my show.
Hey, what's up? I'm Kelly Rowland.
Hi, this is Chelsea Clinton. It's me, Bobby Brown. Can't wait to share my story.
That's Total Mom Sense is a production of the Evergreen Podcast Network. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube so you never miss an episode. To join my tribe, visit that'stotalmomsense.com and follow me on Instagram at Kanika Chadda Gupta. Now let's dive into today's episode. Are you stressed about the holiday season? The decorating, shopping, keeping up with the sales and the gift lists, entertaining, days off school. It is a huge undertaking. Thankfully, my guest and friend, Niro Feliciano, is going to put us at ease. She's a licensed psychotherapist, author, speaker, and regular contributor on The Today Show. She's known for her relatable approach to mental health, helping people find calm in the chaos and purpose under pressure. She's also a mom of 4. That's right, 4. So she gets it firsthand. Her new book is called All Is Calm-ish, and it's the perfect reminder that peace doesn't mean perfection, especially during the holidays. Niro, welcome to That's Total Mom Sense.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm so excited to dive in. I want to share how you and I met and give shout outs to our peeps. One is our common friend, Fran Hauser, who is just a media mogul and a bona fide nice girl, if you've read her book. And she was hosting a book launch for Soumya Dave, who's also in the same line of work as you. And we just hit it off right at the jump, and it made me so happy.
It was so great to meet you there and also see how gifted you are at what you do. That was such a beautiful conversation that night.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it was like a warm hug, that room. Okay, so now let's get to know a bit about you. Let's start with your story and how you are a very proud Sri Lankan. What was your upbringing like?
So I have 2 sisters, and my parents came here from Sri Lanka basically to do their residencies. They're both doctors, which is not uncommon, in our world. The plan was for us to be born here and for them to go back to Sri Lanka. But in the 80s, there was quite a civil war in Sri Lanka, and that really changed their plans. So they ended up staying here, but they also helped likely 25 family members leave Sri Lanka at the time. Yeah, it was a lot. Basically, all the money that they had saved, they paid for plane tickets for their entire family.
Yes.
And
oh my goodness.
Several of those families lived with us for a few years. So we grew up in a household with sometimes 8 children and many, many adults, which is a lot of fun. And that's why now my cousins are very much like my siblings. But, I grew up with 2 working parents, and that was my model for how families should run. So it wasn't a huge transition to have 2 working parents now with many kids, more than I thought I would have, but very blessed to have all 4 of them. And my sisters and I, we were pretty active. We all went into helping fields like my parents. I have one sister who's a pediatrician and the other one is a therapist like me too. So the apple definitely doesn't fall far from the tree.
That's excellent. And I feel like you and your family, you're like the oxymorons in
I
our
know.
community,
Right.
because South Asian culture is so anti-therapy, anti-talking it out. Everything is taboo and everything gets swept under a rug. And that's just how it's always been. So the fact that you are antithetical to that and you're actually providing a new way of thinking and doing is incredible. How did you first kind of get your taste of, I want to be in a caregiving kind of role and be in mental health?
So if you talk to most therapists, we've been doing this forever. You're the person in sixth grade that everyone comes to talk to about their problems. So I grew up that way. But I will say, yes, you're right about South Asians not talking about these problems, sweeping it under the rug. And there certainly was that sense to keep what needed to be in the family. But I will say the family that I was raised in talked a lot, my own parents. And part of that was they didn't have a traditional arranged marriage. My dad is Hindu. My mom is Christian. My dad was my mom's brother's best friend.
Oh.
And I mean, from the get-go, they did things in a way that were non-traditional. And especially my mom being a pediatrician, my dad an OBGYN who basically just listened to women his whole life, including the ones in his house. We grew up talking more than I think typical families did. And for me, I actually went to medical school before I became a therapist. I did my whole first year of medical school and then realized I was much better at talking to people than cutting them open. So I took a little time off and pursued this career in therapy just in case I was going to go back to med school. I thought this will help me to talk to my patients, but then realized, no, this is probably what I am meant to do. So that was the path to getting there.
I want to actually off-road a little bit and talk about your faith journey, because I listened to your talk from, many years ago you shared, called Dream Big, Discovering Your True Purpose. And first off, it was like its own little comedy show / TED Talk. You were hilarious and just so genuine in, kind of being evocative for the crowd, whether it was a laugh or a moment to pause. I love how you shared how spiritual you are. And I am too. And I think that now it's buzzy to say we're manifesting and all of that. But I do implicitly trust what the universe has in store and what God has planned.
Yes.
So how did you kind of weave that into your life as you're navigating each chapter?
So I grew up with that in my family as well. And even though my father and mother came from different religious traditions, my mom's side is very deeply spiritual. My father's is too. And we just saw in so many areas of our life, you create this plan and then it doesn't go as planned, right? There are all these detours and diversions, but we've always looked at them as markers that actually help bring you back to whatever the path is, and experiences that help to evolve you into this higher version of yourself so that you can really embrace the purposes you have in your life and step into them more fully. And I think part of that journey, which now we've passed on to their kids, is that because we believe in God and this higher power, and I know you do too, because I've watched some of the things you've talked about and how you practice fasting as a spiritual practice. And we do as well, that it's a powerful practice. It really is. There's such a reassurance in knowing that you don't have to control every detail. We've grown up knowing, look, be faithful to whatever is in front of you right now. And sometimes that's a career. Sometimes that's your family, whatever it is that you're called to do in that season of your life. And the door will open up to the next thing. And I think part of it is it's helped us and helped me to not jump into the comparison game all the time. Well, look where that person is. It's really helped me to be grounded in whatever my purpose is for this season of my life right now and let go of the pressure, feeling like I have to control every detail or it's not going to happen. So I'm so grateful for that faith background. I believe that that's that's something anybody can experience and tap into. And it's so freeing too, once you realize you can make mistakes. The plan doesn't have to go as you thought,
Yeah.
and still you're going to get there.
Yes. There was something in the talk that I didn't get to see, so I'm asking you now in person. It was when you were on a family trip in Disneyland and your son pointed out something and you were just like awestruck. What was that thing you saw?
So I see signs all the time. I'm always asking God to speak to me. And I don't necessarily, sometimes I'll ask for a specific sign, but I do think if you're aware that God, the universe, the spiritual word, that communicates to you and it helps you along your path. And I remember on that trip, because actually what happened on that trip, we were going to visit my sister-in-law who was dying of cancer. We knew it was going to be a very hard trip. So on the front end, because they live in Florida, we said, let's just take the kids to Disney for a couple of days and help make this a little bit lighter before we step into something pretty heavy. And when we were there, all these beautiful things started happening for us. We were upgraded in our hotel and, like these restaurants in Disney that had no reservations suddenly started opening up, and they had exactly the room for our family, which is 6. That's a lot of people, right?
Wow. Yes.
And I remember at one point being like, God, is this you? Or is this just, am I lucky? Right? Questioning, what is the power behind this? And in that moment that I had that thought, my son goes, Mom, look up at the sky. And there was a skywriter. And it wrote the word Jesus. And it was this huge word, and it was over our entire family right above us in the moment that I was having that thought. And I thought, okay, if that's not a sign, I don't know what is. Literally, like, write it in the sky. And sometimes I think God is like, you are so dumb. I'm just going to spell it out for you. Like, how much more do I need to communicate this to you? Right.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
I'll never forget that. I'm glad you brought it up, because I need to remember that once in a while.
Exactly. And, having those moments of awe, they really make the mundane like more meaningful.
Yes.
We need to look for that. Now let's talk about just, some of the incredible hot takes that you've given on a lot of your appearances on TV, because, with parenting and mental health, there's never enough to learn. We are constantly
learning. Yes.
Every phase, every age,
That's right.
like all of it. So there was one talk you gave on resilience and how parents can, really exemplify resilience while we are exhausted and burnt out and overscheduled and all of that. So how do we shift the narrative for ourselves and get there?
Resilience is such an interesting concept, because we're looking at a culture of kids who don't have it. And part of it is that we've paved the way for them in every way, shape, or form. And some of that we've done because of cultural pressure, not just on us and our kids, and we really want them to succeed. So it's coming from a good place. Some of it we've done because we over-identify with our kids' successes, and that's an issue that we have to deal with in ourselves. But I think first and foremost, resilience starts from us modeling it in different ways. And some of that is how we deal with disappointment. They're watching. What we say is what kids learn is more caught than taught. They're observing it. They're absorbing it from their environment. It is how we react to their own disappointments and quote unquote failures. Are we encouraging them? Are we adopting a growth mindset that this is something that they're going to learn from? So often, especially as a therapist, I've seen teenagers and they come in and there's such a fear or sadness when it comes to disappointing their parents. And I know a lot of these parents want to encourage their kids in whatever process they're in, but depending on what we've praised throughout their life, depending on what we've reacted to throughout their life, they are internalizing other messages. Are we criticizing more than affirming? We always say connection over correction in therapy, because, part of it is we're so busy as parents that sometimes we're attuned to the things that have to change. We're running around being like, don't forget this and do this, and we got to pay attention to this, instead of just saying, hey, you know what? I saw you working really hard at that test. We're not necessarily praising the outcome, but rather the process. So it is complicated. And I don't want to say, parents, you need to do better, because there's so many things we're doing well already and trying to manage and trying to juggle. But there are certain areas where I think we need to flip the script a little in terms of what we're focused on.
That's brilliant. Yeah, and that really lands. And I think it's even with our partners, we have to do
Mm,
that. It's literally
especially,
every
yeah.
relationship.
Yes, I know. And the longer you're married, I mean, we're 22 and a half years now.
Wow.
The longer you're
Congrats.
married, the easier it is to forget that. And it's funny, I was speaking to a friend of mine who's now, I think she's headed to 26 years with her. This is a good friend of mine from high school, 30 years with her partner. And she said, I feel really grateful. We're kind of over that middle-age slump where
Mhm.
you're mad at each other all the time. I mean, mainly because you're so stressed.
Yeah,
And she said, it's nice now. And I said, I'm starting to understand that because we're getting to that point where you recognize, especially I think when you have kids go to college, that this time is so fleeting.
totally.
And okay, here you are. Now it's the two of you again, like you were before kids. And you have to work on that connection once more. And then you become more intentional about the compliments and the affirmation instead of, okay, you didn't do this week. Well, what's going on? Right.
Yes, yes. I think, and we can adopt that thinking early.
It's better if you can, for sure. Yes.
Yes, yes, yes.
Don't
I'm putting a
recommend
pin in
waiting
it right
till
now.
yeah,
Yeah,
don't wait till you're
absolutely.
22.
Right. You said that peace isn't the absence of problems, it's the presence of perspective.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's going on my vision board just to like look at.
Mm,
I really, really like that quote. And I think as we are trying to espouse like what mental health at its prime and peak is supposed to be and self-actualization and all of that, I think it's at least acknowledging that like peace isn't something that you just get naturally. It's
mm.
when there's chaos all around that you still can create it.
Absolutely. You can find it. And I was just having this talk with one of my kids just about happiness and how it's not when you get to a certain goal or certain measure, but it's something that you look for and you create along the way. And it's so important to make our kids aware of that it's especially because especially where you and I live, these areas are so competitive. They're focused on outcome and what college they're going to and those types of things so early on. But we want to cultivate families that know we can find it no matter where we are and no matter what is going on. And the practices in this book, the practices in my first book, talk about what it takes to get there. Practices like gratitude, practices that help us ground us in the present moment and look for what is good around us can create that sense of peace. Even just breathing in a way that calms our nervous system, which every parent needs to do all the
Yeah.
time, whether you're a parent, whether you're in a relationship or not, we all need that. That has been probably the most amazing thing for me to see as I've taught that to clients, that even in the most stressful situations, they know how to calm their own bodies and their minds. So, yes, it's not the absence of problems. We're always going to have problems, hopefully intermittently, but they will be there. But it's about how we respond to them. And finding that perspective is a big piece in how we respond to those problems. If we can find the perspective that says, like I said at the beginning, we don't have to control all of it. This could actually help me in the end. This might not be what I expected, but it may be the next step in my journey and growing me. Then we work through these things a little differently.
Yes. Yes, 100%. And I feel like those tenets were discussed in your first book.
Yeah.
This book won't make you happy, which is just
Yeah.
I love like puns and like witty phrases like that. It's like just chef's kiss. I love it.
Aw.
Tell us about that book and how, it was rooted in like the cognitive behavioral science, but, just practical ways to reconnect with ourselves and make sure we're actually content with our life.
That book came out of a talk, Kanika, that I did on the difference between contentment and happiness as we're sold it in our culture. And
Yeah.
we are taught that in order to be happy, we have to be bigger, better, and have more. And social media has certainly influenced that narrative. And we are inundated with images of people doing all the things and looking happy. And that's really infiltrated its way into our psychology and our feelings of discontent. So contentment is a little bit different. And I will stand by this definition for my second book over the holidays, that contentment has never been about having everything you want. It's about wanting everything you have. And that, again, we're rooted in those practices that help us appreciate what's good already And if our lens is attuned to those things, we're going to see it no matter what happens. And that to me is one of the greatest tools that we have to build resilience, because all resilience is our ability to face a situation, work through it, and come out on the other side of it. So having tools like that and the other ones that I talk about in the first book have helped me in my life. They've helped my clients. So we thought it was time to put it all into a book on contentment.
Yes. Oh, it's amazing. I mean, just a few are, acceptance, gratitude, a present focused perspective, which again,
that's a hard one.
Yeah. But it engenders the peace that we're looking for.
Yes. Part of that is because anxiety rarely lives in the present.
Yeah.
It's fixated on the past and on the future, all the what ifs, all the worst case scenarios. So if we can find ways to ground ourselves in the present moment, one of the questions I often tell my clients, is this an issue for today? Do you need to make a decision on this today? Do you need to deal with this today? Because our mind is so future focused. That tends to lessen some of the pressure we feel to deal with things that actually haven't happened yet.
Upgrade your home with Geometry, my favorite kitchen towels, bath linens, and blankets that are sustainable, stylish, and made to function beautifully. Get 35% off using my code Kanika15 now through November 17th at www.geometry.house. Yes, you heard that right. It's 35% off with my code Kanika15 now through November 17th at geometry.house. Step into your power with Mrs. Mama Bear Workwear, high performance fashion for women who move with confidence and conviction. From power suits to gowns to jumpsuits, these pieces mean business. And I've had Lee Evans-Lee, the founder, on my show, so we share an even more special connection. Enjoy 20% off with my code Kanika20 at www.mrsmommabear.com. That's 20% off with my code Kanika20 at mrsmommabear.com.
Now let's just talk about parenting pressure. I love how you have explained in many occasions, whether it's during summer break or even when we're back to school, how overscheduling our kids is not ideal. And we have to have these breaks and time for pause. And I'm so all for that, because kids need to be quote unquote bored to let their imaginations run free. But tell us, you're interacting with parents all the time. How do you advise them? Because I think it's always the overscheduling, whether it's our schedules or our kids.
It's so hard. I feel like we're all operating at maximum bandwidth. And part of it is the overscheduling comes from it's what everybody's doing. Yeah. And we want our kids to be able to have opportunities as they get older, as they go to high school. One example, all my kids played club sports, which is insane. And it's a racket and it's a business. And none of my kids are going pro. There are not that many Sri Lankan, Puerto Rican athletes out there, So we know this already, but we feel like this is what you even have to do to give them a chance to play in high school. So I think it is stepping back once in a while and saying, okay, what is healthy for this kid and what is healthy for this family? And that's a concept that I wrote about in the first book, the difference between normal and healthy, because there are a lot of things that are normal in our culture that any therapist would tell you, any person, grounded person would tell you is not healthy. We were not built to go at this pace. We were not built to intake all this information all the time, and it's affecting our mental health. So I would just say yes, I understand the overscheduling and some of it is unavoidable. It is what these kids now have to do on some level to attain certain goals that they might have for themselves. And we have to make sure the goals are the ones they have for themselves, not ones that we've put on them, but to guard your time where you don't schedule things. So for example, try we've never been able to do a family dinner every night, never with our schedules. But when we have them, I make sure that they're scheduled on the calendar. We try and do them. We try and make sure everyone's present. There's no devices during that time. that kind of thing. I'm a big believer in quality, not quantity, when it comes to those types of things. And when you can guard those weekends that you have free, make sure once in a while we have a weekend where nothing's planned, which I know is hard when kids have activities, but it's something that we can strive to have that downtime. And when you have it, try and show up present for that time, because that time is fleeting. So phones away, devices away, have conversations with your family. Hey, what do you guys want to do this weekend? We actually have a free weekend. Those kind of intentions are really important when we have times like that. Sure, sure. And I see this all the time. I mean, we're kind of putting these messages in our kids by when we affirm, "Oh, you did a great job in the game. You scored 2 goals," or "Amazing, you got an A on that test." Or maybe you're doing it for the siblings and the one who's not so achievement is listening and internalizing all of that and comparing themselves. So it's hard to avoid, but once you're aware of it, you can certainly make changes and at least create a little more balance. I mean, you absolutely want to affirm when kids hit these milestones that they are proud of, but maybe the way we phrase it is different. You got an A on that test. Aren't you so proud of yourself? We don't necessarily want them to live for our validation or external validation in general, but help to cultivate it within themselves. You worked really hard. Or, I heard what you said to that girl who was sitting by herself at lunch. That was really kind. I'm really proud of you. Part of how we do that piece is encouraging service and volunteerism and spending time as a family when you can to do that. And the holidays are a great time to find opportunities to do that together. But that is little by little moving away from just achievement affirmation to more of a values-based perspective.
Yes, yes. And that's the perfect segue because I want to get into all things all is comish
Aw.
and the holiday season, which is a
So soon.
doozy. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
it is.
So yeah, tell us what inspired you to write it because you've already done many, many Christmases. Tell us your kids' ages actually
Yes, I
to
know. And
shed
you have
light on that.
4. Yeah, someone's always having a birthday, so it changes. But my oldest will be 19 in December. She's a freshman in college. My son is 16 and driving. Then I have a daughter who's a freshman who's 14 and another daughter who's in middle school, 6th grade, 12 years old.
Wow.
So
Wow.
it's a lot. More
Yes.
emotionally on this stage than the physically tiring, which you experience more when they're younger, for sure.
Right. But was it them that inspired you to write this book? Like what was the impetus?
Yeah, part of. I'd say the talk that actually inspired my first book on contentment took place during the holidays, where I was writing about why are people so discontent during the holidays. So that was where that talk came from. And then as my kids were getting older, I realized I'm missing this. I am so busy doing that I have no chance for being present, being connected, being joyful. And I really thought about how can we do this differently? And then, of course, also as a therapist, I've walked through some really difficult situations with people during the holidays: grief, loss, divorce, illness. So I did want to address that in the book too, if someone was navigating those types of situations and trying to be joyful. So there was a lot of different motivations for writing it, but I do think all the things we deal with during the year are magnified during this time of year. And that's what makes it hard to find joy.
Yes, yes. And so tell us some of the nuggets in the book and I guess starting with calm-ish, it's just so
Yes.
real.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's my baseline normal is calm-ish.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show that you can have a lot going on in your life and there could be moments of chaos alongside moments of calm. We
Yeah.
have both and we can hold both. Actually, we do hold both oftentimes. Even if we're going through something really sorrowful, there still can be moments of joy and beauty amongst
Mhm.
that time. So calmish to me seemed to describe not only my emotional state a lot of the time, but many people around me. But there are so many different little pieces for people to hold on to. And one of my favorites is this idea of connection over perfection,
Yeah.
that so often we're striving to create this beautiful holiday and make these magical memories. And at the end of it, we sacrifice actually connecting with
Yeah.
the people who we love the most. And what we know is much of that will be forgotten. The gifts are going to be forgotten, certainly when that dopamine comes and goes. But what we tend to remember are the experience and moments where we felt connected to the people that we love. So that has been a constant reminder for me. It's enabled me to do less and still have beauty in the holiday and joy, but it's a reminder that it's almost not worth it for me to do as much as I used to do, because now I recognize the value of what it means to actually be connected.
Yes. And you actually gave practical tips on doing this, which really resonated with me. One was the shared notes.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. I'm so excited. My kids do not have phones because my twins are 8 and my younger one is 7.
Yeah. Great.
So we're, kind of holding out as long as we can. And they're not even really asking. So it's fine. But even if we were to do, they're just starting to use laptops. So they have, they are typing and can access a Google Doc. But at the very least, with really young kids, just have a shared journal. And we can all go around and share something we're grateful for. I love that one. Is that what your family did when you launched this whole thing?
What I do is my sister and my oldest daughter and I have a shared note. You know how you can collaborate on notes on the iPhone?
Yeah.
And it's called Good Things Are Happening to Me All the Time. And, every couple of days, someone will add to it. And what's so beautiful about that is if you're not attuned to whatever good thing is happening in your life that day, you'll see someone who's on the note put something down and you genuinely feel happy for them.
Aww.
And you celebrate that with them. So that note I do with my sister and my oldest daughter. What we do as a family is a practice called 3 Good Things. And part of that is if I sat down as a therapist with my 4 kids and says, tell me what you're grateful for, they will roll their eyes at me, especially having teenagers. They're like, Mom, don't therapize us, They know I talk about this all the time, right?
Yeah.
So what I started to do came out of research from Sean Aker, who wrote The Happiness Advantage. And what he found is if you can find 3 good things in your day or recent present, if you do that for 30 days, it wires your brain towards optimism and happiness. A negative person can be wired towards optimism. So what I started to do is when we'd go out to dinner or when we actually sat down together, I'd say to the kids, okay, give me 3 good things in your day. And it has to be fairly recent. It has to be fairly specific. And they would go around and say their 3 good things. And now they do it automatically, somewhat to make fun of me, but I do think they like the practice when we're together. If I don't bring it up, one of them will bring it up. So that's our informal gratitude practice.
That's awesome. And there is another practical thing you can infuse into your daily life that is by Donald Altman.
Yes.
The GLAD method. Yeah. Tell us about that one.
I love that. So GLAD is an acronym for a type of gratitude practice. And number 1, you start with what you're grateful for. Number 2, what you've learned about yourself or someone else. A is for
accomplished.
Oh my gosh. Accomplished. This is my perimenopause.
Yeah.
It's going to come out all the time.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, mom brain too.
Yeah. Something that you've accomplished. And it doesn't have to be something big. You could have put away the laundry that day and you're like, win. That is a win.
Done.
You sit there for 2 weeks, right? And D, I love something that brought you delight. And I just love the word delight. And it makes us think of joy a little bit differently.
Yeah.
And that during the holidays, I think there's enough out there. If you are looking for it, you will find it. Delight could be, oh, my tree looked so beautiful today. Or I drank my coffee without microwaving it 5 times this morning. Like it was only 2. So those kind of things, that the small things cumulatively add up to a life of a lot of joy and delight and gratitude for sure.
Do you have any fun traditions or rituals you've started as a family, or maybe even, your clients told you about that you're like, I have to pass this one on?
We have quite a few traditions. I mean, we do enjoy baking together. I mean, there have been years where I've told the kids, listen, okay, now you're all old enough. All of this is not coming from me. Like you're baking one thing, you're baking one thing. We'll do some together. You have to think about every season, what is right for us in this season, because life may look different. You may have more responsibilities, or you may be going through a situation where you have the good intention of bringing back all the traditions, but you have to think, at what point will this no longer be joyful and life-giving for me, and what's right for us in this season? So I do that every season, but we love doing some holiday movie nights in our pajamas. We do love going to New York City because we live so close. So we try and do a trip into the city every year. A lot of times they've come to the Today Show with me during the holidays,
Oh,
which has been fun as well. And every year, depending on what they're into, it may change a little. And that's the beauty of it as well. As they're growing, we're growing too. And
yes.
traditions evolve.
Yes, yes. And it's never too late to start a new one, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure your teens are super vocal and they're like, let's do this. Like, this is going to be the day for this every year.
Yes, Hanukkah, you know what they love, but they actually love volunteer and service. And
Oh,
when we do that
wow.
as a family, and they mention that as one of the things they love during the holidays. And a lot of times every year we will sponsor a family and find out what they want for Christmas, and we will get those things for them. And we'll actually go and bring it to them and spend a little time with the family.
Oh my
And it's
gosh.
that connection instead of just, I mean, I think donating is great where you can, and raising money and food and all of the things, especially this year. But that connection, when you can actually have connection with people who are the recipients of this, it becomes so much more meaningful for you.
Yes.
And it gives your kids perspective on life and situations outside of their own bubble. So every time I ask them, what do you love during the holiday the most? They talk about visiting the families.
Oh, I want to do this. You have to
Mm,
tell me.
yes.
Yeah.
Yep. There are
Is there an
different ways to do it.
organization? Yeah.
Yeah, there are different ways to do it. I mean, locally, I'm sure you can find something in your town, and there are organizations that service families in need, and you can
Hmm.
ask them. A lot of times these organizations have the wish lists of these families already.
Okay.
So yeah, you can certainly participate.
Oh, done and done. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm so excited to start this with the kids. I
that's
know it
good.
will be something that they look forward to.
They
That's
will. They will.
beautiful. That's
And it's
beautiful.
great if you can find families that have kids your kids' ages,
Yes.
because then they identify with it even closer.
Yes. Oh, that's really, really touching. I always ask my guests about their
Mm,
mom sense or dad sense
mhm.
moment.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to tee this one up for you.
Okay.
It's essentially a time where you trusted your gut instinct. And, I call it mom sense. And there was an Instagram post that you had shared that had to do with your daughter. And she is at BU right now, which is my alma mater. So I do feel
Yes.
like a
Yes.
kinship with her. But it was around making friends, losing friends, letting
Okay.
go. And she even had a poem that she
Oh,
wrote.
okay.
Do you know what I'm
Okay,
talking about?
so yes, 2 different daughters, because I have 3.
Oh, interesting.
So,
Oh my gosh.
yeah,
Okay.
the
Yes.
poem, but there's moments in both of those experiences. So you actually brought up one example, and we're gonna hit 2 birds with this one.
Sweet.
So the poem was written by my freshman in high school when she was going through middle school, and she went through a really hard time, girl stuff, exclusion. And she had written this poem. It was a really painful year for her, and we actually ended up switching schools for her. But because we've had this mindset where everything that happens in your life will be used for a purpose. And oftentimes it's going to make you a stronger, more empathetic, more compassionate version of yourself. She is a creative. She wrote this poem. I read it. I sent it to a few friends of mine. I had grown men and women writing me back that this poem left me in tears.
Yeah.
So I said to her, how would you feel about me sharing it publicly on my Instagram? And I still get notes back from people saying, can you tell your daughter, thank you so much? And I always feel like, especially we go through difficult times so that one of the reasons is we can be a source of strength for other people who are going through it. And our interconnectedness is so important to our purpose
Right.
and our humanity, and how we can support each other going through challenges. And we benefit from that as well. So that was a real healing experience for her, going through that situation, which was probably the worst time of her life, her
Oh my
young life.
God. Yeah.
But to come out on the other side with perspective and strength and resilience, her poem was a beautiful example for that.
Some nights she stared at her ceiling and wondered if anyone would even notice if she disappeared. She wondered if she had done something wrong. Oh, I'm getting emotional. Something unforgivable that she just didn't understand. She didn't have a word for what she was feeling. She wasn't diagnosed with anything, but she knew what it felt like to feel like a ghost in her own life. She didn't know when it started. Maybe she changed, or maybe they did. Maybe it was nobody's fault, or maybe it was everyone's. The invitations stopped coming. The inside jokes weren't hers anymore. The group chats stayed quiet, and the lunch tables filled up without her. She grew a softness inside her, the kind you earn only after being broken. She understood now that everyone carries something heavy. She understood that loneliness teaches you who you are when no one else is looking. And even if her voice still shook sometimes, and even if the sadness still visited her sometimes, she knew she had done the hardest thing. After losing everything else, she found herself.
Mm.
My God.
Mm.
Wow.
Mm.
So profound. See, like I can't even read it without quivering. That's
Mm.
amazing. I love how connected to self she is.
Mm. Mm. And it's been a journey, especially when you're raising kids in this culture and they do have values and they do want what is good and beautiful and truthful. The culture moves them away from that in many ways. But it's amazing how many grown women I had write me after I posted that and said, I feel this way now. I feel this way now,
Yeah.
So it goes to say that connection that we have with each other is so important, and no one should suffer alone. That is a huge part of all of our purposes here in this life, I think, is to walk alongside other people and share in their sufferings and be a support and encouragement. And it comes back to you in your own moments when you have it too.
Exactly. And she's
Thank you
living.
for sharing it.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. I'm so glad she wrote it. And I think, it's a testament to how this, what I've coined as mom sense is just our intuition. And it's always guiding us on the right path. And she just tuned in and was like, this is, who I am now, which,
Yeah,
to be not at a young age is amazing.
and what I will say is if you have a child going through something hard like that, and even as a therapist, I did not know what to do a lot of the times.
Yeah.
You know what you need to do for other people, but all they need is you. They need your presence. They
Right.
need you to sit by them. They need your empathy. In that moment, you don't have to solve it for them. They need you to walk them through it. And we have that mom sense and intuition to do it, and we have to trust it in those moments.
Yes.
But yeah, especially when you feel like a loss, know that you have more than you think you have to parent these kids. I feel like we're chosen for a reason for the kids that we have. And
Yes.
I remember that. And I've had people say that to me at different times. No, you were chosen to be her mom for such a time as this. So I go back to that at different times in parenting.
Yeah, that's inspiring. I love that. Is there something that you're really mindful about when it comes to the legacy you're leaving? You have 4 beautiful children, all different personalities, but like the one thing that you're like, I know that I've left them with this.
I need them to know that they are unconditionally loved. I mean, that's one thing. And I've thought about not so much the legacy. I think they have seen, my husband is a physician as well, and we both are in helping professions. So that's a little easier given our job. They see how much service and being there for other people is important to us. But I've thought about it in the sense, now that I have one child going to college, the next one is not that far away. What do I want them to know before they leave my house? And part of it is just their ability to find perspective when things don't go as planned. That is something that I need them to understand before they leave the doors of my house, when they're not living here every day. And they're conversations that we've had. And it goes back to what I told you. You don't have to control all of it. Be faithful to the opportunities that you have in the best way that you can. And you'll be led to the next step. You'll be shown that next step. So hopefully they're getting that. I think they are. And even, you mentioned my daughter at BU, your alma mater.
Yeah.
The college process is tough for these kids. It
Mm.
really is. And what they're being asked to do is more than what I think is humanly healthy for many of them. But there was this sense, because as we were finding out where she was getting into and where she wasn't, some of it does not make sense. And you'll see this when your own kids are at that point. And I knew, I said, I think you're going to end up exactly where you belong. And it wasn't just to placate her. I really, really believed it for her. And when she got to BU, she has called me many times and she said, I know what you're saying now. This is exactly where I needed to be. And we know it was more than just, okay, someone read her application. There's so many facets of that experience that she said, this fits me on so many levels that I couldn't have imagined. And that's where we go back to, there is something bigger than you that is guiding this path. You're not alone in walking it, and neither are your kids. And I think especially as parents, when we can tap into that and know this is not all up to us. We just need to do our best every day, whatever that best looks like. But there is something bigger, more loving, that is also caring for our kids and partnering with us in this journey. It is such a reassurance. So that is the legacy I want my kids to have forever and ever and ever. Amen.
Yes, amen. That's beautiful. Oh my goodness. Is there a mantra that you can just leave us with, as we are in holiday season and of course throughout the year, but like when we're really in the thick of it, that we should just share?
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure I wrote this in this book, and that is good enough is both good and enough. Oh. And oftentimes, that will prevent us from going overboard on the perfection. And sometimes we obsess over things, and at the end, we don't really even care about it, right? We're just in the mode. This is how it needs to be. And in those times, I ask myself, is this good enough? And I'm thinking of it not as mediocre, but is it good and is it enough?
Yeah.
And I can say, yes, it is. And then I drop it and I walk away from it and I don't think about it anymore. So that's what it would be. That's what I leave it with. Good enough is both good and enough.
That's awesome. And where can my listeners, viewers, and community follow you and your work and get your books?
Oh, thank you. So books they can get anywhere that they buy books. And the newest one is All Is Calm-ish. And let me just clarify, I am not telling you to read a whole book during the holidays when you have no time, but it was written in 31 short chapters that are 5-minute reads a day. And it's really meant to be read over a month's time so that I can give you a little peace and perspective and some levity during the whole holiday season. So that's that. But you can find all that information on my website, nirofeliciano.com. I'm on Instagram on Niro Feliciano. And then if you want to see what I do at the Today Show, just put my name in the search bar there on today.com and all my segments will come up there. And those are quick.
Yes. Oh, I love it. I love that you're everywhere and we get to hear from you, and you just give me all the older sister vibes. So
thank you. Thank you.
Thanks
that
so
means
much.
A lot.
Yes. Thanks so much for being on the show, and congrats with the book, and happy holiday season to you and your family.
Thank you. And to you too. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thanks for listening to this episode of That's Total Mom Sense. You can listen to the audio version wherever you get your podcasts. Just search for That's Total Mom Sense. You can learn more about my guests by logging on to www.thatstotalmomsense.com. Be sure to follow me on Instagram, where I'm most active on social media. My handle is @KanikaChadda-Gupta. And if you have ideas for show topics or guests you can't wait to have on the show, write to me at thatstotalmomsense@gmail.com. And lastly, please rate, review, and subscribe to That's Total Mom Sense if you haven't already. Thanks for being in my tribe.